You just made the list!
Chris Jericho, the man with as many names as submission holds. Y2J, Lionheart, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Le Champion, and the Demo God. Just a few of the names that he's used to describe himself over the years. His ability to evolve, stay relevant, and entertain the masses has been his greatest accomplishment. As AEW Dynamite celebrates Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary in wrestling, one can't help but recall how Jericho has come a long way since he started training at the Hart Brothers Wrestling Camp alongside Lance Storm. I'm Rick Ucchino. Here are the 5 most memorable Chris Jericho moments. Number 5, the debut. With WCW finally behind him, Chris Jericho landed in WWE in August of 1999. For weeks, there was a Millennium Countdown clock being prominently shown on WWE television, and while some fans knew it was Chris Jericho, he was still greeted by those in attendance with a huge pop when he finally arrived. WWE clearly had high hopes for Y2J as he interrupted The Rock, one of the biggest stars on the planet at that time, in his debut segment. Now, some people say Y2J was upstaged by the Great One that night, but just being in the segment with The Rock shows a certain level of trust, and those backstage felt that Jericho held his own. Bruce Prichard said that Jericho is remembered for that night by a lot of people, and he was able to hang in there and do it. It will undoubtedly go down in pro wrestling history as one of the top debuts of all time. It is definitely one that people still talk about more than 2 decades later. Number 4, the Undisputed WWE Champion. While Chris Jericho's run as the first ever Undisputed WWE Champion was arguably forgettable, it's still one of his career high points. He defeated both, wait for it, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin on the same night and solidified himself as a main event player. But it was a blessing and a bit of a curse, as it's probably true that WWE looked at him as more of a placeholder, as he would go on to drop the title to Triple H at WrestleMania 18. It's also interesting to note how Jericho found out about his title victory hours before the show in catering via Vince McMahon's conversation with The Undertaker. According to Le Champion, Mr. McMahon loudly told Taker, quote, "You know how you know the business is going down the toilet? Well, we're putting the belt on Jericho." While WWE never really gave Chris Jericho enough credit at the time, his becoming the first ever Undisputed Champion is still etched in the halls of the company's history. Number 3, his feud with Kenny Omega, a match that no one thought possible outside of the halls of WWE became a reality. Alpha Chris Jericho brought his A game to a match with the one and only Kenny Omega at the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 12. Jericho challenging Omega in a completely different setting was a huge creative boost for Jericho. He was no longer constrained by WWE, though technically he was still under contract. However, he did inform Vince McMahon ahead of time. The match received a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer, but someone else also watching was impressed with what they saw. Tony Khan. Meltzer says that Khan saw the subscriptions jump, and that's where the idea for AEW began. In some shape or form, Chris Jericho had a lot to do with creating All Elite Wrestling, and as a result, the business is better for it. After his contract with WWE expired, Jericho made many more New Japan appearances, even winning the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Number 2, the entire JeriKO saga. According to many fans, the segments involving Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens were the best thing on Raw right up until WrestleMania 33. While they were best friends in WWE, whatever they did just happened to turn out to be absolute gold in the ring. Also, hats off to Jericho for doing what he does best and getting something as simple as a list more over than many of the other talents in the locker room. However, all good things must come to an end, and the JeriKO alliance came to an end at the Festival of Friendship, which is also one of the most memorable segments in Raw history. The two were so over that they almost headlined WrestleMania 33 for the WWE Universal Championship, but of course, that was changed in favor of Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg. According to Jericho, Vince McMahon assured him that he was going to win the Universal Championship from Kevin Owens at the Show of Shows, but decided to change it to the blow-off match between Lesnar and Goldberg. In the end, JeriKO and Owens was the second match of the night as they battled for the United States Championship. It should be noted that this change played a big role in JeriKO leaving WWE and eventually joining AEW. And last but not least, number 1, the birth of Le Champion, JeriKO winning the AEW World Championship. As you all know, Chris Jericho is a former 6-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but none of those title reigns were exactly lengthy. As the Undisputed WWE Champion, Jericho's reign lasted all of 98 days, while his 3 World Heavyweight Championship reigns between 2008 and 2010 lasted 109 days combined. Now, AEW made a very smart choice by making JeriKO the face of the promotion and having him beat Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship at All Out in 2019. As AEW World Champion, Chris Jericho was at his most entertaining, being the central attraction on AEW Dynamite alongside the Inner Circle. His feuds with the likes of Cody Rhodes and Jon Moxley were very impactful and got viewers to come back for more. During his 182 days on top, JeriKO made it a point to put guys over like Scorpio Sky and Jungle Boy, also guiding the younger generation and help create tomorrow's stars. We have seen title reigns before with wrestlers near 50, but Chris Jericho showcased how to have a meaningful title reign while also helping to build up the future of a promotion. And that is the list for today. I mean, we only mentioned 5 here. Obviously, there are like 5 million memorable Chris Jericho moments, if not more, so don't forget to put your favorites in the comment section below, and also make sure to give us the thumbs up and subscribe to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel.